We are back on Morning Line. It is our final segment this morning with Clarksville Mayor McMillan. Appreciate her making the drive all the way down this morning. Thank you. It's good to come and talk about this with us. Again, we're talking about the Mayor's Compact to combat hate, extremism, and bigotry, and your involvement. You've just signed on to that group, and of course,
there's some extra additional points that we could make too about it. Okay.
We had some phone calls that waited through the break. They want to say hi, or ask a question. Let's go to Margaret. Margaret, good morning.
Hey, I may be calling the wrong phone number. Good morning.
Okay, you might, but give it a chance. What's your question?
My husband is a principal at Gatewood School out in Lake Country, Lake Sinclair, Lake Oconee, and we would like to call in our football scores on Friday night. So I bet you.
Okay, wrong number. Yeah. That's all right. All right, let's go to Gary. Gary, good morning.
Morning to you.
Hey, Gary, what's on your mind?
Well, I'm just wondering, I've sat here and I've listened to the mayor and all of her thing, and I'm just wondering about the other side of the coin.
Okay.
In your police ranks and in your fire ranks and all that kind of thing, do you sit and say, when it comes time for promotion and stuff, I know the bigger cities have had a big problem with that, oh, we don't have enough women. We've got to pass over these white men to get some black women. Or that kind of thing. I know it's personally happened to me in another department that I'm not going to say anything about, but anyway, I just wondering what her feeling is on that. Do you think that you've got to make a racial thing out of the deal, or do you promote people specifically on their performance and
Yeah, I didn't understand what you're saying, sir. It's, the affirmative action aspect and whether or not sometimes you hire based on gender or race, or the common question that comes up in a lot, not just in public but private hiring as well.
Exactly. Well, and I can tell you that my personal opinion is I believe that people should have their jobs. They should be promoted in their jobs based on their qualifications, based on their ability to do their job, based on merit. It just so happens that I think that there are so many qualified individuals of all races, of all genders, of all ethnicities, that I think there's room for everybody. And I can say in our city...
He said he got passed over on a job somehow.
I don't know if he's meaning Clarksville or not, but
no, but
I know that in our city, what I tried to do is say, I want everybody to do the best job they can, and they're going to be promoted based on merit. But when we're looking at a new job, and maybe that's something let's look at everybody. And I have been able in my administration to really diversify the ranks of all of the leadership of our city. We now have more female, more African American, more other ethnicities in our ranks of department heads than had ever existed before in the history of the city of Clarksville. And it's not because I've set out to say I'm going to make sure we have more women or we have more African Americans. I'm out to say I'm going to find the most qualified person. It's just like me. I mean, I was the first female mayor of Clarksville in the entire 200-year history, and I used to say, well, you don't have to elect me because I'm a female, but elect me because I'm the best person to do the job. And I happen to be a woman, and it worked out, and I think that's what we've tried to do in all ranks of our city. So, I mean, I'm sorry that the gentleman felt that he was passed over. I certainly would never promote somebody just because they were of a particular race.
You would want them to have the qualifications.
They have to have the qualifications.
I do see what you're saying, and again, I don't know that it applied to that gentleman that called in. Any police department, or frankly any news department, I think it's healthy if our department is made up of folks that reflect our community. I do not think it would be good for our entire newsroom to be all white.
Exactly.
I wouldn't think it would be right for our entire newsroom to be all black. I'd like to have a mix of a lot of people with diverse backgrounds that are all qualified.
Exactly.
But I would want it to be diverse just so it reflects our viewing area to some degree, so hopefully we can do the best job covering the news. That would be the same way with law enforcement, right?
It's the same thing with law enforcement.
Or in any field, I think.
I mean, it's the same in our fire department. We have really increased the diversity of all of our departments since I've been mayor, because I've said I want the chiefs to really take the attitude of, that doesn't mean that you overlook somebody that's the best person for the job, but keep your eye out and look for people so that we can actually, like you said, represent our community. Because that's what government is about. It's representing the community.
Every once in a while, though, there'll be people like this last caller who perceived that he was more qualified and passed over for someone for another reason. And I can understand why that's frustrating. And so there's a balance there that has to be met.
And I think as government officials, we have to be able to justify why we made the decision. So if somebody challenges why a promotion was made, I have to be able to justify this is why this person was promoted or this is why this person was hired, because they do have the qualifications for the job.
Gotcha. All right, let's get back to your list. Is it, we should probably just have enough time to cover some of that.
The other lists are we want to celebrate diversity, we want to promote inclusivity, and we want to challenge bias. As I said before, that's our duty as mayors to do those kind of things. We want to promote law enforcement training on responding to and reporting hate crimes and domestic terrorism.
So on that point then, do you anticipate that your department or that you'll have any talks with the chief about maybe some further training now in light of what we see? Look, we're going to see more of these protests, especially here in the South. And having them address that, and that costs money and it takes time, and maybe it pulls officers off the streets for some of the training at that period. What do you think?
Well, training is most important, and our chief agrees with me that there can be nothing more important than providing the training. So what we do is put training first and then go forward with making sure that we're protecting the public. So we have a very robust training department in Clarksville, but we continue to update and make sure that we're keeping up with what is going on in the country. Every time something like this happens, we'll go back and talk about, do we need to offer some additional types of training for incidents that are happening that maybe we hadn't seen before. And so you have to adjust, and I think as the mayor, that's one of your duties, is to make sure you're doing that. So I think one of the other things is we want to encourage residents in our communities to report these kind of incidents, including using hotlines and online tools. I mean, what we find is sometimes when people have the perception that you're a racist community,
they don't call you.
Well, if they don't tell us, our chief will tell us every day, if people don't come and report crimes and don't help us, we can't solve these problems. So
but they're going to have to be confident that it's not going to fall on deaf ears.
That's correct, and it won't. And everybody knows me, they know the chief, they know that if you have a problem, you need to come and tell us, and we'll sit down with you and we'll talk about it, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that we ferret out what the problem is and try to address it.
All right, so have people come forward. Don't be afraid to
That's right.
report.
They have to come forward with that. And we just need to make sure that we maintain civil rights enforcement and that we strengthen hate law crimes when they're necessary. And that's something that mayors can do. For example, we mayors, we go to the legislature to basically urge our elected representatives to make sure that they're passing the kind of laws that we see are necessary on the street. We go to Washington and we work with our congressional representatives and our senators to try to say, here's one way we think you could solve the problem, because mayors are a bipartisan group of individuals. We're not elected, I'm not elected on a Democratic or Republican platform. I'm elected on a platform of trying to help people, because that's what I have to do every day. Every mayor, that's what they do. We are in the job of finding solutions and helping people, and so we feel like we're the best ones to help advise the lawmakers on what they can do to try to strengthen the laws in this area.
Your term is what, every 4 years?
4 years.
4 years, so you're 7 in, right? So
that's
you have
right.
another year, and then you'll run for...
That's correct. We have term limits in Clarksville, which are different than some term limits. It's 3 successive 4-year terms. So I can run again.
I was going to say, you're not term limited.
I'm not term limited out, so I intend to run again next year.
And how important do you think this compact is to all the things you deal with as mayor of the city? I mean, and there's so much you deal with.
I think nothing could be more important.
Do you think this is the most important issue you face?
I think that intolerance, bigotry, racism, I think is one, I mean, I can't say it is but it is one of the most important things I think we do, because if your community is not a place where people feel safe, where people feel comfortable, where people want to live, then you're not doing your job as mayor of your city. And so I feel like this can help make your community stronger, can help make it more cohesive, and can help make it a place where people want to come and live.
You think most of the city council's on board with you on this?
Oh, yes.
I mean, you talk to them about it.
Oh, yes, yes. The city council, I mean, unlike in Nashville, I'm also a member of the city council.
Oh, is that?
So even though
okay.
I'm the elected mayor, I'm also a city council member. In fact, I run the city council, and so we don't have a vice mayor. I am the vice mayor in addition to being the mayor.
I see,
so.
all right. But you've had those conversations and the like.
Oh, exactly. And our city council feels the same way. I mean, they're the type of city council that believes that we can have no tolerance for, you know, racism and bigotry and these types of, you know, incidents that are happening across the country.
You think it's going to get better or get worse first?
I think it's going to get better.
You think it will after what happened in Charlottesville?
I think that the mayors have now, that's why the compact came about, because the mayor said we can't sit back and wait for it to continue to get worse before it gets better. We as mayors are going to step up. I mean, you're talking about, I think now we've got probably 270 mayors nationwide that have signed on to this compact to say we're going to speak up. We mayors, we stand together for our community, to make sure that all the communities across the country stand for doing the right thing.
Can you help other mayors? Will you be in talks, I mean, as a whole, this compact with the Knoxville mayor?
Oh, absolutely.
This
in fact,
rally?
I was just on a conference call with the Knoxville mayor last week. The U.S. Conference of Mayors, we had a conference call where...
Did this come up about this rally?
Oh, yes, it did.
Okay, so what's...
And what we did was we want to be able to offer suggestions. We had police chiefs and other mayors that had maybe experienced similar types of things in the country on the line too, that could give the Knoxville mayor guidance and you know, things that she could do to perhaps alleviate some of the concerns. That's what the U.S. Conference of Mayors does. We mayors stick together, so we're here to help each other if you need the help.
No, see, that's what I think is the great thing, is at least I love the idea of that conference call that you were just telling me about, that they can get together and call. It's not that these mayors haven't thought of it, but now that it's on the radar, especially brought to the surface, what other things can be done? Because, you know, as I saw that happening, I'm like, gosh, how do you stop this? They have a right to protest.
That's right.
And then things come together the way they do, and it's pretty darn scary. People get hurt, someone got killed.
That's right, that's right. And so what we do is, as the U.S. Conference of Mayors, they send out, you know, talking points. They send out...
You have a media toolkit there.
We have a media toolkit.
How to better manipulate the media.
No,
that is awesome.
That's right, that's right. We want to be able to tell you, this is why we're doing this, because we want to promote tolerance in all our societies to make sure people can live together and not experience the kind of hate that we've seen in some incidents. So
listen, Mayor, thank you for coming on. I certainly appreciate you making the drive down here to talk. And
what's our duty? We have to speak up.
I know, exactly. That's what I'd like to see more and more mayors do, and I think Mayor Berry here does.
Exactly.
And just to get the word out, and maybe also anticipate when these new situations come up and how to prepare for them. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll see you again sometime soon. Take a break. We'll have a programming note about tomorrow right after this. Stay with us.